My name's Stuart Evans. I'm here representing ABBYY from a company called Invu, who are a partner of ABBYY's, and we implement invoice processing automation solutions. We do that generally for mid-sized companies, some small companies, some large companies, all kinds of companies, because invoice processing is something that a lot of businesses can use. So today I'm just going to try and talk quickly about two key topics, really. One is invoice process automation itself, what it is, what it looks like, why you might do it. But I'm also going to mention purchase order processing, because the two are related and they tell part of the story about how accounts payable departments can improve the way they function and perhaps why they might do it. Just to get everybody warmed up, I put a couple of pictures on the right-hand side just to make the problem statement clear. For pre-automated invoice processing, for many businesses, it comes down to the top picture on the right-hand side. A supplier calling the accounts payable clerk saying, "Where's my invoice?" And the phone on the other side, the accounts payable clerk calling out to various people around the business and around the country, around the world maybe, to find where something is and track its progress and situation. They don't know how many invoices they've got, they don't know where they are, they don't know what the status is until it's all done and dusted. In the meantime, there's lots of room for clerical error and failure. That happens in the paper world, where 30% of your businesses are still at, handling paper invoices, rubber stamping, signing. It also happens if you're just doing informal scanning. So you're still in a chaotic environment, you can just do it a little bit faster because you're emailing your invoices all around the business and filling up your exchange mailboxes. Purchase ordering we'll come to a little bit later. First of all, I'd just like to explain very clearly and simply what we see as invoice automation, what the steps are. Some businesses try and claim the whole space, some talk about a very small part of it. Maybe just thinking if you scan a paper invoice into an electronic format, you've done invoice processing, that's enough. No, it isn't. So this is how we see it. We see it as 4 major steps. And with each of those steps, there comes benefits that contribute to the overall solution. The first step, very simply, is capture and data extraction. So this is where we use a software technology to capture any invoices coming into the business, whether they are emailed or whether they're posted. Doesn't matter, they're just a document, a thing a human looks at. We capture those in as electronic documents and we extract the data off of them. That's very, very, very important. So now what do we have? We have an electronic copy that we can retrieve instantly, and we also have the data off of the invoice, which we can use to drive a process. And that's why step 1, although actually very simple, hidden away perhaps in finance, is an incredibly important step. When we talk about the benefits of doing invoice automation, I always like to think of it in terms of a control benefit or an efficiency benefit. Just keeps it simple, way to think about it in your head. So what's the control and the efficiency benefit in step 1? Well, the control is it's a front door. So instead of people saying, yes, I've got an invoice, or it's over here, or it's over there, everything has to come through the capture stage. Everything gets scanned, pulled in, whether it's an email, it gets harvested into the system, whether it's paper, it gets harvested into the system. It's effectively a replacement for your rubber stamp saying received. Guarantees that everything's going to go through the same process thereafter. The efficiency benefit is it's faster and cheaper. And obviously, the more invoices you have in your business, the more cost-effective it's going to be in terms of the speed of data extraction. But don't just think of it in terms of speed, because actually it's a distraction. Think of it in terms of the quality of the data. You're making sure, right at the front door, that the data coming into your business is correct. The invoices have the right amounts on them, they're the right supplier, they're going to the right ledger. All of that is known right up front. Once you've captured the data and you've got the invoice, you can then start to route that based on the data that you have. If you know the purchase order, you know who might be the budget holder to approve an incoming invoice if the variance is out of whack. Even if you don't use purchase ordering, you can still use the data based on the supplier and the context to drive it to the right people or pass it to finance for them to do. Approval and coding done electronically is fast. You don't have to hand it around. It's error-proof because when you're coding an invoice, you'll choose codes which are from your finance system. And it'll be a limited list, and you can limit the list to which ones you're allowed to pick. I'm in R&D, I can only pick R&D codes. Tim's in sales, he will only be able to pick sales-oriented codes. So you can absolutely lock down what's going on with an invoice and what data gets associated with it so that there are no errors moving forwards. Go back to your paper story, doctor's handwriting, trying to read people's codes. People don't even bother with codes, they'll just scribble something informal on the invoice. Then there's room for error all the way down the process. The efficiency is absolutely obvious. Instead of using internal mail or emailing documents around, documents are sitting in a document management system, notifications get sent out, well, as the Americans would say, itty-bitty emails, get sent around with links on them, and then the users can access those invoices and those tasks either from a tablet device or from a PC and immediately process them wherever they are. That means that instead of saying, okay, well, I'll just send out the paper invoice and maybe I'll give Tim, I'm going to quote him again, give him 3 days, 4 days, 5 days to turn an invoice around back to me because there's internal mail or there's post. I could really expect him to get on that the same day, maybe in the same half day, and we can speed up the turnaround time. Once we've harvested all those approved invoices back in, they're all coded up nicely. We know all their GL codings and splits, and we now need to get those into a finance system. So it's a question now of uploading the data into the finance system. And again, there's a control and efficiency benefit that's happening at every stage. So from a control point of view, you know exactly when and that only approved invoices are going into the finance system because all of the data has been sorted out beforehand. And efficiency, you can do a batch upload. It's as easy to upload 1,000 as it is to upload 1. And I see lots of people in finance with rulers and printouts going down the invoices and typing the data into the finance system and then back again to their report. That goes away, and we batch lift the data into the finance system so that it can be posted through and then paid. Those first 3 steps are really the core process in invoice automation. Very, very simple. The last bit is really the gravy that comes at the end, which is the ability to retrieve invoices, find out what happened to them, and report on them. So at the atomic level, if an inquiry comes in, obviously the document is sitting in your document management system. You can just type in anything about that invoice you want, be it off the invoice description or maybe the metadata, invoice number, supplier code, the date, or even something that was purchased, find that invoice and retrieve it immediately. So that removes a lot of clerical activity, which is wasting a lot of staff's time in finance departments today. More importantly, going back to the process, what you've actually got is a view on the whole process that's going on. So without this system, if you're still just emailing your invoices around the business or if you're dealing with paper, if I said to you how many invoices are trafficking around the system, maybe you register your invoices. So maybe you've got an invoice register. But if I asked you then where they were all sat, how long they've been sat there, who they're sat with, what stage they're at in the process. Have they had first approval? Are they with the FD for final approval? It would be hard to know. It would be hard to say with confidence. Once you've got a system that embodies your process, embodies this workflow, then you can simply run a report. And that means you can say, actually, I can see there's 5,256 invoices in flight through my business at the moment. And here's a report that shows me exactly where they're at, however I would like to see it. So we can split things down. We actually did this. We have a customer I talked about here last year called Adactus, and we split the pending invoices, pending approval and coding out by department, and The biggest slice in there was the exec team for sitting on invoices the longest, so we had to change the report and actually take the exec team out and hide that from the operational view. So let me give you a picture of what those steps look like very, very quickly. I'm not going to spend much time on what it all looks like because it depends on the business. And in the case of our solution, we use ABBYY FlexiCapture for the capture part of the process I showed you before. And you can see much more on this up at their stand upstairs on the 5th floor in the far corner. But this is an interface used by an accounts payable member of staff to harvest in the invoices and make sure that the data is correct. How it looks exactly can vary a lot, but those 3 key benefits are really, really important. Customization, making a solution fit your business. Every business does similar things, but they all do it differently. And it's the ability to customize these solutions very, very quickly, very cheaply, cost-effectively, and make them fit your business that's important. There's no out-of-the-box win. Efficiency, good batch management, good processing, confidence around the process of harvesting data into electronic form, and low maintenance. No need for templating supplier after supplier or users to worry about how well the system is working. This software now can solve this problem effectively enough for this solution to be very competent, very hands-free as far as the users are concerned. What happens after that? It goes into that workflow I talked to you about, out through a browser interface for users to be able to see the physical invoices and code them. Again, the data is coming from the finance system, so everything is absolutely right before it actually reaches the finance system. Approvals can take on different forms. Sometimes you're coding, sometimes you just want to be able to see the metadata and approve it. Lots of different ways to see these interactions, but they're all browser-based. And that report again. Some people ask me about line items, happens inside of projects and outside of projects, so I thought I'd throw a slide up there just for fun. Anybody who knows me, whenever someone says line items, I just say run away. Capture technology can capture line items. The key problem I have, and I present back to customers and businesses when I'm talking to them is it really a good idea for you? Because you can make more work for yourself as a business when you're in pursuit of those line items. If you really, really need line items, are you really solving the problem the right way? Maybe you should use EDI for that portion of your business. Maybe you should have a better MRP solution. It really depends on the nature of the business. If you focus on the business goals and not just on the accounting ones, not get too carried away with some of the details, you may realize that you don't need the line items. That's just really a cautionary note from me. Everyone likes to hear reality in these talks, so there we go, a piece of reality from me. Avoid line items if you can. If you need to, it can be done. Just be prepared that you've got to do more work, and you've got to do more work with your supplier. So in summary for invoice automation, just wanted to kind of mix in the sort of drivers and benefits around that. So control and efficiency, keep those ones in your head. Control means different things to different businesses. Take a housing association, they have a requirement to follow regs. So control is quite structured for them, not very structured, but quite structured. For a more commercial business, it's not really about regs, it's more about just getting the job done and knowing that there's no leakage. So control could be reducing chaos, it could be achieving a compliance, it could just be preventing sloppy loss. It's up to you as a business and knowing what your business is to take those pieces that apply to you and find some control benefits that are meaningful in your language. Efficiency is maybe about reducing cost. Sometimes it's about reducing heads. But often it's about improving the speed or the turnaround or the apparent perceived loss in terms of how much time people who do normal jobs within the business spend helping this stuff happen and reducing that down so it becomes trivial. And those are the big wins. It may be because you want to enhance your standing with suppliers, so avoid being putting on stop, Some of the larger or more public businesses might be looking for supplier discounts. On the commercial side, I don't see too much of that. Or it might be about limiting those charges. As to why you would do it, hopefully all finance departments are under considerable pressure to improve the way they add value back into the business. Sometimes it's just about good practice, but other times there's a business driver behind it. A lot of businesses out there are looking at consolidation, and in preparing for consolidation, they want to make sure that they do the central administration well, because if they acquire a company, the first thing everybody wants to do is knock out the administration cost times 2 to 1. If you're looking at that, then you need a function that scales. So if I'm a business, I want to acquire another business, if I need to be able to say, oh, I'd love to be able to say as part of a consolidation strategy, my finance team can scale to 2, 3, 4 times the number of invoices coming in without increasing the headcount or anything else significant within that function. That's a great thing to be able to say. It's a very popular topic right now, looking at your internal businesses to make you fit to be a winner in a consolidation or acquisition scenario. Or most of the time, it could just be about giving something back. Okay, you're a cost to the business. If you can help that business become slicker and more efficient and offer a more elastic service, better management all around, there's nothing wrong with improvement. I meet a lot of finance directors and their staff who are looking to drive change within their function, and then they have to make choices. Where do I go? What do I do? Do I look at credit? Do I look at accounts payable? Do I look at management accounting? All these different areas that they're considering. One of the great things about invoice process automation is it's a bit of a slam dunk. It's very safe to do. It's an old solution. It's been around a long time, and the technology's got really good now. It's quick to do. It doesn't take long to implement these solutions. It's actually on your timeline, not ours. Could be weeks, could be a couple of months, could be a little bit longer in a complex environment, but it's a small project. It's not really very expensive. Price varies on application, and it does deliver results. You get a guaranteed lift. Your data improves, the speed improves, the traceability improves, transparency improves. It's a given. The fact that it demonstrates your process, that you say you've got a process, but you can't embody it somewhere. You've now embodied it in a technology, in a workflow. You can point at it and say, that's my function running. Enables transparency. So I'm going to quickly move on and talk about purchase ordering, because invoice processing, when you're not using purchase ordering as a control, well, invoice authorization's a bit after the fact. The spend's been made, it's just about arguing about it now. This is all sucking egg stuff, but purchase ordering can obviously prevent the wrong or the bad spend, and it can speed up the invoice processing we've just talked about, because the data quality of what you're buying is even better with a purchase order than without. But when we talk to finance directors around this country, we find an awful lot of cases where purchase ordering is not happening in a centralized, broad fashion, and not only is it not happening, but they've tried and they failed. They often have licenses with their ERP vendor, and they have tried and they have failed. So it begs a little bit of a question as to why. Reasons we're starting to pick up. POP modules have often been written by vertical ERP products in the mid-market, especially as a bolt-on, an upsell. Squeeze an extra 10 or 20,000 out of the customer, maybe 50, maybe 100,000. And it's very ledger-centric. And there's nothing in it for the end users. The acronym here, what's in it for me? There's only something in it for the FD. And finally, sometimes when they go for it too hard, big bang. We talked to adapters who are now moving into doing POP in the housing association. This is the kind of feedback that we got with them when we went around housing associations, asking them why they failed to roll out POP when they have the licenses. So these are companies, mid-market companies, they have the licenses with their ERP system, and they have failed to roll out, and they're all over the place. It's very difficult for a finance department to roll out purchase order processing because it's on their shoulders. It's a service they're offering. If they're embarrassed or they know the shortcomings of the system, it's really hard to stand there and say, everybody out there who wants to buy something in this company, this is good for you, this is going to work. And in the end, it just ends in tears. So we've started down a different route, just looking at this because we want to enable our customers to do really effective purchase-to-pay solutions. They're doing invoice processing now, but they'd really like to get to purchase ordering. Funnily enough, and I don't know who else has this situation, but my family have no trouble shopping at home, no trouble at all. And that's mostly how they do it. Okay, I'm not naming names. Amazon, very, very easy. And if I say to my wife, well, I need you to order these 50 things for Christmas. We need these wrapping, this one delivering to my brother-in-law, this one over here. Split those two out because the postage. Not a problem. No, it's all done, dusted. We're not just talking about simple shopping. We're talking about complex transactions and management. They can do it at home. Why isn't it happening in the office place? So one of the problems is that I think that the finance software companies have been very much finance software for finance people, not for actually users within a business. So we're taking a shopper-centric approach, trying to enable all business users to participate in the requisition process, offer them more of an Amazon-style shopping experience. Just make it easy, make it familiar. We're going to use the whole shopping experience that people do inside of the business to build like a Folksonomy catalog. So we don't create these barriers to implementation like we must have the ultimate defined catalog of what you can buy and can't buy. We'll actually do it statistically. Do it by letting the shopping happen and building the catalog and then refining that statistically to present back those items back to people when they say they want to buy something. They type in A4 paper, they'll see A4 paper that's been bought by somebody else with the same supplier and parts of the codes and so on from before. You still need to do approval management, but we can make that a bit simpler. Because we're not a finance system, half of businesses we deal with, they like to keep the finance licenses to people who are just doing budget management and finance department functions. The other half do roll out across the board and they pay those big licenses for everybody. For that first half, there's a considerable saving by using a lighter weight solution for purchase order management because you don't have to train the users or buy full licenses on the finance system for them. They don't need to see the finance system. What about finance process? It's very important that purchasing and invoice processing complement each other to offer a solution. Again, if you've got a POT module from your finance solution provider, it's probably just a ledger solution, maybe with a bit of workflow. Invoice processing isn't there, capture isn't there. So you're missing half of the process. And the first half of the process, they haven't done very well. So we're aiming to making it easy for finance to delegate out the responsibility of budgetary control to the budget owners. No catalog building. Easy implementation for finance. Attractive to the end users. They search for stuff they want to buy. They find stuff that's been bought before. Make it easy for the shoppers. And then we can start to progress towards a touchless path of dealing with invoices. Because if you've raised a purchase order and we capture the invoice and the matching goes sweetly, then you can just take that through to payment without anybody having to see it. So our little motto at the bottom there. If they can shop at home, they can pop at work. Let's have a little look at the process outbound. Shoppers put stuff in a basket. Those things get approved and rejected by their managers and budget holders. And from that, one or more purchase orders will get raised. In our system, the basket doesn't actually limit you to one supplier. It's just a wish list of things you want to buy. Those are the 3 key steps in the outbound process. And the approach we've taken is to develop a solution that works on tablets and on the browser that looks like Amazon. And it isn't just a grid. a spreadsheet that accountants like to see. We've used some of the Amazon-style user interface to consolidate on key numbers and group them together so that they're more easy to read. Push button approval, and then if they don't want to approve it directly, a budget holder can actually edit these fields, send it back to the shopper, and they turn up highlighted with highlighter marks over the fields that have changed to give you a full audit trail of the changes proposed back to you by a budget holder. And very simply, a little bit like Amazon at the top, just simple hyperlinks showing you that order to fulfillment process that reflects the chevrons I'm showing you above. We sort of copied the Amazon shopping basket icon a bit as well. So, inbound. What do? We receipt, we match off the invoice where we need to, and then we post it to the ERP or finance product. Looks very simple in chevrons. It's a bit more complicated to do in reality, but that's the process. Again here, when everything's gone right, when the order and the invoice match, we can be touchless. This process is invisible. This just goes boom, straight through, ready for payment on the finance system. Jungle reality is sometimes there's variance, you need to do matching, there's complications, you need to deal with those. Well, we do allow to deal with that as well. We've kept the same user interface metaphor. You'll see a repeating pattern of presentation, but here basically we're in invoice clearing. An invoice has come through and been dispatched to any of the budget holders who need to match that off, change any values, flip any other purchase orders into it, and we have a touch and keyboard interface to allow them to interact with these fields and edit them away quickly and easily. It's about taking it to end users, budget holders out in other departments, and even their delegates. If they want to delegate their responsibility down to other people, we can allow that as well. Spread the responsibility, and it actually takes the load off of finance and takes away some of the promises that are hard to deliver. So why do it? The main thing is it makes implementation possible. With a decent UI, the users will say, I can use this and there is something in it for me. I get presented with results when I search for something I want to buy that someone else has bought. Invoice capture processing will drive the process, and that process is made better by using purchase ordering. It's an easy to manage system because we're not trying to push for the mecca. We're not trying to have a dictatorial catalog that will need to be maintained forever as a function. It's self-maintaining. We're endorsing delegation of responsibility around budgets to make approval more distributed, but controlled at the same time. Budget levels, budget codes, distributed responsibility. And automated payments on a full match to give you that touchless invoicing that you were all dreaming about, I hope. And of course, I'm ignoring all of the basic benefits of going to purchase order processing, which I'm sure you all know yourselves, so I've just put 4 down there for your pleasure. So, in summary, I just wanted to make it clear that as you look at doing invoice processing, you've got to ask yourself why not to do it. Write down those benefits, control and efficiency. Think about the strategy that drives why you would do it. Is it just improvement, best practice? Is it getting ready for acquisition? Or is it because you're hemorrhaging money really, really badly? Control efficiency benefits. For some of your businesses out there, you might be thinking about doing purchase ordering again. And you might be thinking that it's a stepwise approach. You could implement invoice processing, get that working, embedded in your business, they can see the benefits of automation, and then you can push on to purchase order processing and make it a smooth and realizable transition. Thank you very much.